We'll be looking at classes in Python. I'm going to teach you basically how to create a class in Python, how to create objects of a class, how to initialize a class from scratch. So let's just jump into that. Now, if you've previously been writing programs and you have been using classes but you basically don't know, so I'm going to run just this shell. So you see my Python shell, and I'm going to create a new variable to be equal to basics. You can create that to be anything. Now, if I try to print the type of this variable, what am I going to get? You can see it's of class string. And why is that important to me? Now, this is a class. It's not just whatever you've been thinking. So it's actually following a particular pattern. Now, this class contains different definitions. So if I do var dot, you can see the different functions that are accessible in that particular class, such as capitalize, casefold, count, and a lot of functions here. So I'm basically going to walk you through how to create your own class, a class object, and the initialization of a default class. So I'm just going to create a default a class named animal, a column, and for now I'll just give a pass. Okay, so to create, this is a basic class. I've created a class this way. So to create a class object, I'm basically going to call the name. Now we know a bird is an animal, so bird is equals to animal. Now I'm going to open and close this parenthesis. Now if I go ahead and try to print bird, what am I going to get? So once I F5 and run that, you basically see that we have main main.animal. So this is basically telling us the class. If I try to print the type, let's try to print the type of bird, you basically see main animal tail. So you can see class main. Don't worry about this for now. And then we have animal, which is a type of that. Now we know when we create an animal has maybe the animal can swim, or let's say animal can walk, or the animal has different features that's related to an animal. Okay, for example, a bird has wings. That is the attribute of that bird. So there might be some specific functions or attributes we might want to relate to an animal. Okay, so for now I'm just saying bird. Let's just use the color. That's the attribute of that bird. Now I'm not specifying any particular bird, so for now I'm just going to leave it as bird.color, and we can just give that as a brown. That's the color of the bird which we just declared. Okay, so this is just a basic way to assign attributes to that. Okay, so and I can just say bird dot walkable. That is if it can walk, and I can say true here. Okay, so that's great. I can go ahead to create another animal. Say fish is equals to animal, and I'm going to say fish dot color is equal to, and I'm going to give it a gray, and I can say fish dot walkable is equal to we all know a fish can't walk, so that's a false. Okay, so I can go ahead and print any of these attributes. That's very simple. Bird.color. I'm just gonna print two of these attributes, fish.walkable. So and you see that it's getting brown. That's the bird.color is brown, and walkable for the fish is false. Now what if we wanted the user, when creating this class, he actually provide us with those details of the animal he wants to create? Okay, you can see where this gets very useful and easy for us to create objects with different attributes that are related to a particular class. So I'm just going to clear out on all this, and I'm going to go into my animal class, and I'm just going to say def underscore init underscore. Okay, for now I'm just going to give a pass, or let's print custom text created. So what happens if I run this? Okay, you can see it takes 0 positional arguments, but 1 was given. Now why does this happen? Now when we are creating a class animal, for now I don't want to complicate things, we are basically need to give it an argument when we're creating this init function. Now what does this init do? Now the init initializes the class, which means immediately your class is created, the init function actually runs. So if you want to pass in a few arguments such as the color and walkable of an animal, you have to pass it in here. But before you do that, you have to create a variable self. Now it doesn't have to be self, but this is what everyone does, so it's just like a convention. So I'm just gonna give self. Now this is used for referring to the particular objects that is created for the class. Okay, so self, that's great. So once we do this, I'm just gonna put comma self. Let's see what we get. Okay, so you must give this argument when creating the init, that positional argument self. And let's see what is self. What do we get? You can see created main animal object at what? This. So this is the location of the object we just created, which is what? The bird. So it's actually referring back to the self. Okay, so if I want, I can come below here and say self.color. Self.color is equal to let's give that as a black. Okay, and below here I'm going to print what? Let's just print bird.color. So let's see what happens. Once we run this, you'll notice that this init function first runs, and that's great. You can see created gets printed because immediately this function, this class, any object of this class is created, the init function runs, and now we basically have created out to the screen. So that's great, and it's telling us the object because we put in self there. So I'm going to clear that out, and you can see black for bird.color. Okay, that's good because we can basically assign that here, and that's acceptable. I mean, we can get away with that. But for our case, we want to actually collect the color from the user when creating the bird. So instead of saying self.color is equal to black, we're going to do something else. So when you're creating the animal, I want you to give the the names the color and actually the walkable to us. So I'm going to give comma here for the self. We're going to give color, the color of the animal, and we're going to give walkable. Okay, so this will prompt the user when creating this animal. He must give two arguments, that's color and walkable, not self. Okay, this is just the reference to the main object. So we have color and walkable. So if I basically run this now, we're gonna get an error because we haven't given the argument color and walkable. So I have to come here to the bird. I'm gonna give the bird to be a black bird, and walkable for a bird is what? Is true. Bird can walk. So that's great. Now if I print bird.color, you would see that as a black. So we have to change self.color right here to be what? To be equal to color, and self.walkable to be equal to what? Walkable. This is just for self reference, and then after that it's going to print created. So let me just round this up by printing bird dot let's say bird.walkable. Okay, so yeah, you could see created black true, which is what we passed in here. You can go ahead and create a fish the same way we did that. Fish is equal to animal, and then you say fish. We have to give the arguments this time around. So the color of the fish is going to be gray, and we could basically give the walkable to be false, and we could still go ahead and print fish dot color, and we can print fish dot walkable. And if I run that, well, all we'll see here is expected, created, all this gets printed. Let's get that out of this class. Okay, so I've basically shown you how to create a class and actually class objects, which are these, how to assign properties or attributes to them. And let me walk you through creating another class so we can see how to create class functions apart from init. So I'm going to create a class named calculator. Okay, so the calculator is going to have an init, and nothing fancy this time around. I'm just going to print created, print created in new calculator, and I'm going to define another function which is add, which is going to take the first argument to be self, then x and y. So we're going to add two numbers together. And for now, I'm just going to give a pass, and then I'm going to def again. So this time around, it's a sub. It's taking self and x and y. Okay, pass. So we've treated functions recently, and I basically believe we understand what functions are. So I'm going to return x minus y for the sub, and for the add, we're going to return x plus y. We need the return keyword, return x plus y. So let me go ahead and create a new calculator object. So I'm going to say calc is equal to calculator. Okay, so the init. Okay, so the init, you should get an x and y, or let's just leave that way. So calc is a new calculator. If you want, you can initialize that with x and y, and then once you call add, it's just gonna return self.x plus self.y. Okay, hope that's not too extreme. So if I come down, let's just run this and make sure we don't have any errors so far. Okay, created a new calculator. So we can just say a or sum is equal to, let's say sum underscore is equal to calc dot add 8 and 9. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead to print this sum that we've got, and hopefully we'll get 17. Okay, 8 plus 9 is 17. Okay, so you can see that works. This is basically how to create a function. Remember, I'm giving the first argument to be self, which is basically for self reference, and we initialize this calculator. You can create classes for basically anything you want, and probably I'm making a tutorial on modules to show you how to use classes made by other people, which is basically possible in Python. So that is the end of today's tutorial. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and a sub, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next tutorial. Thank you.